So a group of criminals are just given the simple task of kidnapping a 12-year-old ballerina so they could get ransom money off of the father, who so happens to be a wealthy underworld figure. What could possibly go wrong, right? Yeah, okay, so it's not just any normal young ballerina girl that they've kidnapped, is it? This is my uneducated opinion on the movie Abigail. Okay, so if you literally know nothing else about this movie and you haven't seen the trailers or know any other details other than what I've just given you the synopsis at the beginning, just go and watch this movie. It's great. Just go and watch it. It would make your viewing experience so much more superior. Go and watch it because, like I'll mention a little bit later, the trailer does give away some things which I do feel as though kind of ruins the experience. But that's not the movie's fault, that's more the marketing team's fault. We'll get on to that. So this movie was originally going to be called Dracula's Daughter, which was a movie that also came out in 1936 with the same name, because I assume that they just want to continue with this dark universe thing. But I think they're improving from, well, this movie coming out. It's better than what they have been bringing out recently. So let's just get the easy stuff out of the way. Alicia Weir in this role is absolutely incredible. She plays the role of a young vampire, which happens to be the daughter of Dracula. I did warn you. You should have watched this before you known that, because that would have made the experience so much better. We'll get into it. But yeah, Alicia Weir is incredible, and going off the back of what she did originally in Matilda the Musical to doing this, you can definitely tell that she is going to be a huge talent and a star going forward. I loved how they incorporated a lot of the ballet that she gives and the flares and the dancing when she goes around playing with her meals and killing her, showing that she's having a lot of fun, and then also going back and forth between her being the innocent victim of being kidnapped to this bloodthirsty vampire. Yeah, okay, yeah, spoilers, there's fucking killings in this movie. It's a vampire movie, it's a horror. What did you expect? There's so many times that I caught myself just having a massive grin on my face when watching this movie, because I just kept getting engrossed into her having a lot of fun in this role as well. So let's go into other parts of the story real briefly. So the criminals are brought together without knowing each other who they are, and they sort of consist of the stereotypes that you get in other horror movies. You have the people that are a little bit dim, a bit of a brute muscle. You have the hacker, you have the annoying one who you just want to be killed first in all of this. You also have the leader who thinks they know best, and they are the ones that always calls the shots. And then you have like the more main characters who are the more sympathetic, naive. The dialogue is also done really well at the start of this movie, because you get to know each of the characters and backstories through exposition in the more sense of a Sherlock style, where each of them, being so closed off and not wanting to give away too much, they're trying to read each other from their postures and from their body language and how they act towards each other. It's a very interesting way, rather than just sitting around and just being like, I'm this and this is my backstory and I'm sad and I'm a criminal because of this. And the cast that is also brought on with the rest of this movie, they all really good in their own senses. You have the likes of Melissa Barrera, Catherine Newton, David Durand, Dan Stevens, Giancarlo Esposito, who, to be honest, if you do know that he's going to be in this movie, don't expect too much. If he is like your main draw, he's not in the movie that often, but for what he is in it, he does his typical stern look himself, no bullshit attitude. He's decent in this movie. I mean, what else do you expect from Giancarlo Esposito? He's great. You have William Catler in this movie. You have Angus Cloud, who I recently found out that had passed away, and he was actually dedicated in the credits at the end of the movie. So it's very tragic to realise what had happened to that individual. We do get to feel a lot of sympathy when it comes to a few of the characters, because very early on you get to know a little bit more of them through their subtleties, in the sense that some of them don't necessarily want to go through with kidnapping the 12-year-old. The cast is very well balanced in the sense that you do start feeling sympathy towards some of them, you start feeling hatred towards others, like I've mentioned before. But one of them that I really wanted to focus on to begin with was Kevin, who played the character Peter, and he gives off this very intimidating presence. You know why he's a criminal, but he also gives off this quite sweet and funny and innocent tale towards his character. And I was constantly thinking throughout the whole movie, where the goddamn have I seen you before? Then it clicked when I looked him up. Yeah, he played Blob in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Regardless of whether that movie was any good, I feel as though from what I remember of watching it last time, he did give a lot of that same sort of sympathetic feeling of being a simple mind and just trying to do his best at what he's good at. Unfortunately, just like a lot of other horror movies that I've seen in the past, this one does have the usual annoyance of what not to do in a horror movie. Like the fact that there is a literal vampire on the loose and the team just decides at random points to start splitting up, and then you start thinking to yourself, well, you kind of asked for it if you start getting cornered by yourself, and it takes half an hour for one person on the other side of the manor to come and find your dead body. It does go into that sort of stereotypes that if you were in an actual horror movie, stick together, don't split the party, please. Towards the end of the movie, it gets a little bit too dangerous for me in terms of crossing the line of being a bit too convoluted, or maybe not knowing exactly the motivations towards each characters, and the characters themselves making decisions, or well, the movie making decisions on going places I didn't really want it to go towards. But ultimately, it does go back on those few things, and I'm satisfied with how it ends. I don't mind predictable stories, really. Like, if this journey towards the end is good enough and satisfying, I'm all in for it. I can be quite annoying in a lot of cases in trying to predict the outcomes of certain movies, so I kind of ruin it myself. That's just me, that's my problem. Notably, one instance in the past where me and my girlfriend were watching Supernatural, and one of the episodes, well, spoilers for this episode, I can't remember which one it is exactly, I'll probably put it here. But there's an episode where it starts off with a lady and I think a husband going on for a drive, and they crash and the lady survives, and then it cuts to Sam and Dean coming up to the car wreckage, and the woman comes up showing that she has survived, and I just instantly predicted, oh, she's a ghost, and I was right, and I was in like the first 5 minutes. And my girlfriend was quite annoyed at me because I was able to predict it that easily. So it's not the sense that probably the movie's fault for being a bit too predictable. Again, I don't mind predictability. It's just how is it executed? That's what I need to have more satisfaction out of. I do recognize that it is incredibly hard to make twists in movies execute well, and it doesn't fall flat on its face. I do know that like M. Night Shyamalan is very well known for trying to give like twist outcomes, and some of them fall flat on its head, but some of them are very well executed. I guess it all depends upon the viewer, but for me, if the story is well executed and it's satisfying enough, I don't mind how predictable it is. But also, if you were to have a movie and it does end up having a really good twist, for me, it's just the cherry on top. The killings, like I said, spoilers, it's a horror movie. When they do happen, it is incredibly gruesome, over the top in a really good way. And at times, it does remind me of a movie that I have seen recently that I might end up doing an Uneducated Opinion on. It was the movie Ready or Not, which came out a few years ago. And lo and behold, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, or Gillette, the best Jinan can get. Sorry, I apologise if I've butchered your name. But they were also ones that actually made Ready or Not, so no wonder I love this movie, because I also love that movie. So ultimately, this movie does what I absolutely adore with a lot of horror movies that I'm into. It's not just cheap jump scares every 5 minutes. It's a lot of creepy, gross imagery and kind of funny and disturbing ways. And of course, the ultimate performance of Alicia Weir just completes the movie in general. So the movie's budget was approximately $28 million. And since I can't find out what it's necessarily grossing right now, because it literally just came out yesterday, I think, in the UK for us, and it's come out worldwide fairly recently, I hope that this movie makes its money back, if not more, because this is great. Now, trailer time, like I do with every Uneducated Opinion video. Let's just watch it and see if it's as bad as I remember. Okay, that trailer, initially, towards maybe the first half of it, was great. But as soon as they give away the fact that she's a vampire, they just give away everything. They give away who eventually dies, what happens with certain characters. Wow, that fell off a massive cliff towards the end. I'm in two headspaces of how to think about this, because I can absolutely see why they marketed the movie this way, by giving away all this stuff, because that's how I got invested. I was a massive fan of Alicia Weir from Matilda the Musical, and seeing her do a completely different role in being a vampire in this movie, I was completely sold. But imagine just going into this movie and not knowing that. Have the trailers just give away something's not right, and after she gives the line,
I'm sorry about what's gonna happen to you.
and then just revealing nothing else and just having these weird instances happen in the trailer, that'd be really cool. And then maybe for the more die-hard people that probably recognize it being Universal Pictures and it being called Abigail, and if you probably read about the development, it was originally going to be called Dracula's Daughter, you can link it that way. But for the mainstream audience and someone like me that literally knew nothing else about this and didn't know there was a movie already made, that would have been such a more awesome experience. There's many other instances which I'll probably get to when I do other uneducated opinion videos of, but especially Marvel. There's so many movies which they've done recently where they've revealed something massive in it. Just imagine how much of an impact that would have been if you were just sat in the cinema and you watched those scenes unfold, how much of a massive shock that would have been. You got me, but I'm disappointed that you got me. And I think that's about it. Thank you very much for watching another Uneducated Opinion video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. Comment down below what I could do better for next time, but also comment down below, have you seen the movie? What did you think about it? Did you know much going into it? And if you haven't seen it yet, are you now intrigued to go and see it? I would very much recommend it. Subscribe, ding the notification bell, do all that jazz. Recommend this to friends and family if you think they'd enjoy this sort of content. I obviously stream regularly, or as regularly as I can, on twitch.tv/Rizikins. I normally play my girlfriend Jem and my good friend Sir Razzie. We play games together like Helldivers. We play Baldur's Gate 3. We need to get back into doing that. Currently I'm streaming Red Dead Redemption 2, and hopefully you enjoy that. Yeah, like to see you soon. Take care. Bye.